Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Miles, host of the SOS to Shout Out Show. You are in the correct place. And if you're here today, today's Thursday, this is the last day before we take our 2-week hiatus. We will be back after 2 weeks. Inshallah, we'll be coming back strong. I hope that when we come back, we're actually going to do our Saturday spotlight the week that we come back. Hope you're doing well. You know, as we get into Thursday, it's so important for everybody to begin to take the stock of the fact that we slowly moving out of spring into summer. We're already in May, getting into June. A lot of things are going on. Special announcement for everybody that's going to be at the show in Charlotte, the Eid show in Charlotte, put on by Brother Worth Muhammad. I will be in attendance. Inshallah, I will be there along with my brothers, Azim Muhammad, Musa, the comedian, as well as my sisters, Chastity Washington, and Dr. Sylvia Tremore, and my little brother, Marlon Hill. So we're all going to be there. It's going to be an amazing event. Hope everybody has your tickets. It's sold very well. So we're really, really excited. And I'm really, really excited because I haven't been able to be on stage since I took ill. So I'm really hyped up to go do that show. If we can, Tatana, can we click off the overlay? I want to give a shout out to our little artist. Today's overlay actually is a picture. It is provided by Miss Miriam Washington, who did this is called Eid. This is her painting called Eid. We highlighted at the beginning of the show, probably highlighted at the end, but this is her painting. You know, she's a young aspiring artist, and we have to make sure that we support our young aspiring artists. Okay. So here's the deal, brothers and sisters. Our topic today is called Stop Defending Your Enemies. There's been a rash of things that have happened, I would say basically in the last 36 to 72 hours that's led me to this point where I have to say we cannot continue the practice of finding excuses for people who have no moral compass, who have no idea about right and wrong, who have no value about the other lives that they affect, and talking about that these people are enemies, understanding the concept of an enemy, understanding the attitude, the intentionality of an enemy. But because we cannot continue this process. We have people who are enemies of the state. We have people who are enemies of female reproductive access. We have people who are enemy of Black people. We have enemies who are enemies of Latinos. We have people who are enemies of free speech. And the aspect of an enemy is not that this person is some type of sworn opponent, brothers and sisters. We cannot get into this very, very base idea that our enemy is that person who's right in front of us yelling, I don't like you, I don't like you, I want to make sure your life is miserable. It's not that person. The idea of an enemy, if you're looking at it from a very deep and nuanced stance, is the fact that the Quran and the Bible give you a clear enemy. They talk about Shaitan as an enemy. I'm going to talk about not Shaitan as an enemy, but his minions, the people that do his work. Because the one thing when we talk about an enemy, people think specifically that the enemy is trying to do us harm. That the enemy is trying to do us harm. We don't look at the fact that our enemies around us are trying to weaken us. Thus, we have a culture of people and attitudes that have been very, very consistent on trying to weaken us. Whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's education, whether it's medicine, whether it's civil rights, diversity, constantly we have this wearing effect of people who know they can't harm you, but they can weaken you. Whereby when you go out to protect your right, to speak about your rights, you're not standing on the footing you normally would be standing on. So today on the Shout Out Show, I have to speak on this because it is annoying. It is bothering me. And more so, I don't see people really standing up and saying, hey, this is the difference. See, this is the beauty of the 60s and the beauty of the 70s, because that that idea of liberation from an enemy, being able to speak truth to power about people who are affecting your quality of life in a negative way, being able to speak truth to power, it was not passe. When you spoke, people listened. When folks were trying to say things to you, you backed up and you say, this is amazing. I might get an opportunity to show you a video that a good friend of mine sent. I don't know if I'll be able to bring it up, but it was a black barber talking to a white reporter. And it is honestly one of the most frank discussions that you're literally going to see. In fact, I'm going to make it a point to bring it up because I think everybody should see it, because you have to have that kind of honesty. You have to be able to talk to people about the things they've done and what their actions represent. Not only what they represent, but this is the fallout of their actions. I was watching something about the Iran Contra scandal, and they began to talk about how during the Iran Contra scandal, drugs were dropped in South Central. And those drugs, really, that drug money is helping finance the Iran Contra conflict. And I'm like, this is real stuff, but we're not talking about it because it happened so many years ago. And that people, in retrospect, find the enemy or the actions of the enemy more so entertainment. It's amusing or that's interesting, but it's not arresting. People are not going to be going to jail. People are not being, I want to say, prosecuted. People are not being dragged on the carpet for their actions. And we have to really begin to look at that. So we're going to go ahead and get into the start of the show. This is the Shout Out Show. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Shout out to Marion Moss for our background today. In fact, I'm going to take the overlay off because it's too much. So listen, we're going to see you guys in a minute. Let's go ahead and start the show. I'm going to try and find that video while we're here. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Well, brothers and sisters, I hate to say it, but I'm actually kind of fast. Satan, I pulled it off. I pulled it off, alhamdulillah. So listen, we're going to get into our comment section. We're going to make sure we get our shout out soldiers, shout out family. We'll make sure that they're properly acknowledged. First up in the box, who we got today? We got Sister Ree. How you doing, Sister Ree? I know you're going to like this show today because we're going to speak truth to power. But before we do that, we want to thank you for coming on the show and supporting us for all these years. Make sure you give a big hug and support and a shout of support, of course, to Brother Derek Chase and Brother Jawan. And we thank them for taking care of you. Thank you so much for supporting us. Next up, Brother Eric Carter. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. Beloved, how you doing, man? Thank you so much for being in the queue early today. This is one of these topics where I'm saying to stop defending your enemies. And I think when you hear the little bit of tape that I'm going to put on, you're going to understand where this feeling comes from. Because this is taped in the 60s, but I've had this feeling my whole life. And I think at some point in time, we need to be able to talk about it. Honestly, because at this point in time, we talk around stuff. We become the culture, particularly in the Muslim and African American culture, become the culture kicking a can down the road, and we can no longer afford to do that. Next up, Brother Altaf Fashid. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. What's going on, sir? Much love to you, sir, man. Thank you so much, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian ambassador to the show. Man, I hope you're having a great day, brother. I hope you can chime in on some of this stuff. It's going to be a great show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next up. Okay, where y'all? Y'all back home? Oh, you back home in separate rooms today? Okay, you're back home in Houston. Alhamdulillah. Hey man, thanks so much. And that was a great picture, man. That Giordano's pizza, deep dish pizza. That's what they have for their iftar, their delayed iftar. Doing good, brother Eric. I'm gonna look for your information today and get you taken care of tonight, inshallah. But no, I appreciate it, man. That was a great picture. Thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed it. It looked scrumptious, like I said. It looked tasty, man. They sent me a picture of some deep dish pizza in Chicago. So if you never really had deep dish pizza from Chicago, it is amazing. I don't know what, do you guys have mushrooms in it or what? It looked amazing. I usually have the cheese and spinach joint. It's fantastic. Okay, let me. All right, Slansbury brother, you're looking, sounding, yes, I do have better energy. Your brother's feeling much better. When I say much better, I mean much better. Getting good sleep, getting good rest. Appetite's not all the way back yet. I can afford to put on a couple more pounds, but hey, I figure by the time I get back, inshallah, next week I can get back to running. That appetite come right on back, and I'll be strong and robust. That's what I'm trying to get back to, strong and robust. Thank you for shouting us out, Sister Sonia Salahuddin. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And my main man, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh, Mark Kennedy. Mark, I got something here. I'm parking out today. I'm saying stop defending your enemies. Stop defending your enemies. And you know what really got this started? I was going through some stuff, and remember the church shooting? And the church shooting, the guy, the white boy that came in while the black people were praying, and he massacred them. And Obama came down to the church and he started singing Amazing Grace, and I just kept having a vision of the cops allowing this boy to have like a cheeseburger after he decimated all these people's lives. And I'm like, you can't defend your enemy. We are the culture that has to forgive, it seems. Just ironic attitudes, lunacy, people losing their damn mind. We have to apologize for them because they don't know how to apologize. We're going to talk about that. And we have, of course, our consultant producer, sister. She wants to be known as Sister Satana. We got Sister Satana on the place, making sure everything works correctly. Shout out to Sister Satana and all the good work that she did during Ramadan. Feeding people, Eid programs. Alhamdulillah. She got a program this Sunday. If you're going to be in the New Jersey area, make sure you check it out. In fact, Satana, you should put up a banner about what you're going to be doing this Sunday. Make sure that people can come out. Okay, here we go. I said earlier, you got to stop defending your enemies. Because what we have done in the last 4 to 5 years is we have emboldened them. We have somehow lent to the fray or lent to the discussion that somehow, someplace, these people are going to have a moral compass about their behavior, how they treat people. They don't have the moral compass. They don't care about how they treat people. Thus, we cannot continue to keep giving them pathways to our goodwill and our mercy and our forgiveness. We have to make sure that those things are broken and that people have to at least meet us halfway to talk about what they're doing. Damn it, don't tell me I'm sorry if you don't know what you're sorry about. Don't say forgive me if you can't tell me why I'm supposed to be forgiving you. These things have become passe. We throw mercy around like it's government cheese because that's the only way we can at least keep people in the mindset that what you did was wrong or what you did was incorrect or what you did was inappropriate. We have to throw mercy out there so they can at least think about their actions. This is not the way mercy works. This is not the way forgiveness works. Forgiveness is a process, if you will, a little bit of a contract, if you will, an offer, an acceptance. It has to be a negotiation in terms of emotional availability. We're not doing that. In our own communities, we are just throwing out the mat and we're telling people, it's okay. Hey, you know what? In our community, Muslim community, we say you got to find 70 excuses. What happens when you finish, son? When you finish with 70 excuses? Literally, the idea of 70 excuses does not, hear me now, does not disassociate or invalidate the fact that people have to be accountable. And folks are not accountable. Over and over and over, I find this thing that people look for the righteous folks. They look for the good-hearted folks, not to forgive them, but to give them a break to remove them from the accountability of the things they do and the things they say over and over and over again. I talked about our comedian Safe yesterday. You know what? Nobody apologized for Steve Brown being attacked on stage. Nobody apologized for Janae Jamshed being attacked in Pakistan and being run out to London. Nobody apologized to them. And the thing about the Janae Jamshed is people use aspects, bits and pieces of religious ideology to oppress another person. You see why I like the 60s and the 70s? It was a rawness to it. It was a rawness to it. And I remember as a kid telling the white kid to, blankety blank, 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 you cracker this, da 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 da. And I got it from my dad. Because I watched my dad as a man try to navigate the 60s and the 70s. And I saw how society tried to treat him. I saw how they tried to treat my mom. And I saw my aunt, who was an EEOC lawyer, still having to go through the rigmarole of, we want to say white supremacy, but it's not white supremacy. It is white unexceptionalism, not exceptionalism, unexceptionalism. Because to maintain the things that they do, you have to be less than exceptional. You have to be less than educated. You have to be less than merciful, less. And what you have is a creature that you can't deal with. Because to deal with that creature, you have to put yourself down in the muck and wallow with that creature. You can't do it. Oftentimes when you're a comedian and you're on stage and everybody's having a good time, there's one person that wants to ruin a good time. And that one person, if you engage him, it's called a heckler, but if you engage the heckler and he goes even left, a little bit left, if you will, people will turn on you. Why? Because they feel like you made a bad decision to focus on the heckler. It's almost like you can't win, because if you don't deal with the heckler, they keep getting louder and louder and louder. No compass, no caring, no empathy about the other people who came to the show to have a good time. It's all about me. Literally, in a couple of weeks, the Supreme Court is going to roll out this new memorandum, this decision that Roe versus Wade is going to be repealed. Let me tell y'all something about abortion rights. It's not solely about abortion rights. Literally, when they pull the rug out from the ability of women to choose, it's not necessarily of women to choose life and death for a baby. It's sometimes planning for it. If you're 15, 16, 17, 18, it's planning to have a child. And the people who are going to be hurt the most are going to be poor folks. They're going to be poor women. Because what America has done is created a conundrum whereby you have young men, particularly Black and Hispanic men, running around not knowing who they are and trying to navigate manhood in a space where manhood has been compromised at every turn. And getting into relationships with young ladies, because you're not going to stop love, brothers and sisters. You're not going to stop love. But you're going to put into a situation whereby people can't plan to have children. So I can't plan to go to school. I can't plan to have a job. Now, here's the deal. People are not poor, plan all the time. They plan all the time. Their insurance policies allow them to do that, but it's the poor who's going to be affected. And I'm going to say this right now. If this thing goes forward in the next 20 years, you're going to create a new class of folks that are going right from the womb to the tomb, in between penitentiary, because there are not going to be options and availability for people to uplift themselves. This is what we're dealing with. So as I say this, I just want folks to understand that we can't afford to keep defending our enemies. You have to call them out. Sister Tyne, I know we're running over, but I just want to, could you bring up the video for me? I just want you everybody just to watch a couple minutes of this, please.
A few particulars that make Omaha different from New York are just incidental. The problem exists because white people think they're better than black people, and they want to oppress us, and they want us to allow ourselves to be oppressed.
This is I agree with you perfectly. This is the basic problem.
Then what do you
that white people think they're better than
I can
others?
Do? I can't solve the problem. You guys pull the strings that close schools. You guys draw the boundaries that keep our kids restricted to the ghetto. You guys write up the restrictive covenants that keep us out of houses. So it's up to you to talk to your brothers and your sisters and persuade them that they have a responsibility. We've assumed ours for over 400 years, and we're tired of this kind of stuff now. We're not going to suffer patiently anymore. No more turning the other cheek. No more blessing our enemies. No more praying for those who despitefully use us. We're going to show you that we've learned the lessons you've taught us. We've studied your history, and you did not take over this country by singing "We Shall Overcome." You did not gain control of the world like you have it now by dealing fairly with a man and keeping your word. You're treaty breakers, you're liars, you're thieves, you rape entire continents and races of people. Then you wonder why these very people don't have any confidence or trust in you. Your religion means nothing. Your law is a farce, and we see it every day. You demonstrated it in Alabama. And I can say you because you're part of the whole system. You profit from it. In fact, you make your living from it. You couldn't walk around and talk to people, stand up in your pulpit on Sunday and preach nice little songs and say, now we're going to give thanks to the Lord for he is good and old Jesus be among us. As far as we're concerned, your Jesus is contaminated, just like everything else you tried to force upon us is contaminated. Well, so you can have him. And here's what I'll say. I wish you would follow Jesus like we followed him. Because if you did that, then we'd be in charge tomorrow. I think the problem is so bad that we can have no understanding at all.
You think it's gotten to the point where there can never be that reconciliation? Then?
No. You talk about justice, and it means one thing to you, and we talk about it and means something else to us. And it'll always be that way. And I'd like you to know I have a terrible feeling against preachers because I think you guys are the ones who are largely responsible for the problem in the first place. And you can accept it or not any way you choose. And for you, this may be an excursion, you know, across the line.
What about the person that wants to listen? I genuinely feel that I want to listen.
Well, if you listen and try to do something, you get kicked out of your church. See, that's where your people are.
Well, we can make changes. So the change that have come been drastic.
God bless you, little brother. Come back and see us again sometime. And don't look back in anger.
I think I have capitulated to everybody on the show, everybody watching the show. This is the way a lot of us feel. I'm sorry. I had to bring the truth out. I had to go all the way back to the 60s to a guy cutting hair, a barber, brothers and sisters, a barber who is knowledgeable, who basically talked to the man and said, you're here on a pass. We know who you are. We know what you do. The question is, will we continue to allow people to do this? Will we continue to allow to give people platforms? Don't defend your enemies. Don't give them platforms. Let me tell you something. In the next upcoming political races, brothers and sisters, in midterm, if you have a politician that you have not seen, in your community and who does not have a record of effectively managing the needs of the community, they don't need to be in front of your churches. You need to have signs of the people saying, don't vote for him and don't vote for him. Literally, find the candidates, but also find, I want to say, the mental gravitas, the mental toughness, brothers and sisters, to understand that these people can't lead you, but you can lead you. But you can come up with your own committees, that you can come up with people that write grants, that you can come up with industries that demand respect in large amounts of US dollars, billions and billions of dollars. Are you aware of how much money goes out of this country? $3 billion just went out to Ukraine for a war they're losing. They won't win. They won't win. Russia is just toying with them. They won't win. Still, they're able to get $3 billion. We could barely get an anti-lynching bill through Congress and the Senate. Do you see what I'm saying here? Here's the scale. The scale is heavy that way for the people who are enemies. They tell you that they're your enemies every day. I don't turn the other cheek. I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to lie to anybody. You know, when I became Muslim, it was very hard to forgive people who knew they were doing wrong, who knew they were dirty, who came up in your face and they stood in front of your face. Why? Because they were counting on you to be holding on to your Muslim or Christian temerity, to give them another chance. To give them another chance for it? To screw you over. The barber was right. The barber was right. And I'm going to tell everybody, liberate yourselves from these folks. Liberate yourselves from these people, because they have no core. They have no core values beyond the fact that the only way they can win is that you lose. Over and over again, I tell folks, this whole zero-sum mentality has been killing us for years. I remember I was on a plane and a white man said, hey, listen, I was in first class. He goes, hey, you know what? I got some work to do. Would you mind if we switch seats? I said, where are you? He said, well, I'm back here in economy. I said, but I'm in first class. He said, yeah. He said, you mind if we switch seats? I said, absolutely. And I hope you don't get peanuts. Get in the back. It's a bad emotion, brothers and sisters. But it was just the fact that the guy felt like, because I'm white, you'll move. This is before Rosa Parks. This is before, of course, Jackie Robinson. We've had these people demonstrating American white unexceptionalism for years, and we keep saluting it because it gets more and more and more moribund and ridiculous, and we just don't know how to deal with it. The question is, when will you stop? The question is, when will you look at people and say, that's a very unhealthy situation over there, and that your politics are politics of death and lying and misinformation, and it gives you all the characteristics of ungodliness. You know, I often say, you know, Satan gets a bad rap. He gets a bad rap. He has a job to do. Now, if people want to help him do his job, that's your business. But here's the thing about Satan, and this is clear. We know who Satan is. He tells us who we are. Between the believers, disbelievers, and the hypocrites, time is the thing that's not on our side, because we invest time and emotion and love and energy in the situations and people who have absolutely no intention for our well-being. They want to see you lose. The minute you walk out, they want to see you lose. Our enemies, by definition, are losers. They never win. The only way a loser loses is they help somebody else lose. I told you the definition of an enemy. One part is to harm. The other part is to make you weak. So on this show, brothers and sisters, stop defending your enemies. Call them out. We need to have support groups just to call out our enemies. Hey, man, don't go over there with so-and-so. Don't go over there with so-and-so. And I'm not just talking about white people. I'm talking about black people too. I'm talking about Latinos. I'm talking about everybody who has a DNA of an enemy. Call them out, because they are not descriptive in terms of who they hurt. And they're always around, hoping some way, somehow, that when you get up on your feet and you start winning again, they can go back to actively engaging, trying to make sure that you lose. Think about that, brothers and sisters. That's a shout out show. We're going to roll out commercial. Again, shout out. Let me get out of the way. Shout out to Sister Marion Moss, who gave us our, she gave us our overlay right here, our background today. She did a great job. We're going to be highlighting some more art. If you have art and you can photograph it, send it to me. We're going to put it on the shout out show as a background. I think that's something we should do. And we're going to try and sit down. Let's reach out to some youth to get some pictures and put stuff up. I think it'd be great to put it on the show. I was really enthusiastic about this. Thank you, sister. Salahuddin. And we'll give a shout out to Mufti Abujay Trayor. Mufti, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, beloved. Thank you for the show. I think it's your first time on the show. Welcome to the SOS family. Much love to you and yours. All right, that's our show. I got to get out of here. Inshallah, I'll see you in Charlotte. If not, we're going to have a little break for about 2 weeks. We will be putting shows up. We'll be running some of our greatest hits. But we'll also be working on making the show better. Like I said, we had to take a little break with the Ramadan 30 for 30. It was a beast, and I need to make sure I get myself healthy to make sure I can produce the show on a steady level. Other than that, you guys have been lovely. We will see you in 2 weeks. Keep us in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shout out show, Preacher Moss. Peace. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID, put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID, go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID, you need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID, go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.